I'm going to turn it over to administration.
Yes, Madam Mayor. So we process this every year. We go through what the priorities are. We sent out to all department heads if they had something to add. We also contacted Sea Life Center, JAG, to see if they had something to add, and then the other businesses that were already on here. And then so Diana put everything together, and there you are having your packet. You just go through it, and if you want to pull something, place something else on there, please let us know, and we'll have a resolution, pre-resolution before you at the next meeting to approve these.
Great, so I'll just ask a question off the bat, just to say that, so Sea Life Center and JAG did get feedback back to you guys, and you're just going to incorporate that?
Correct.
Or work with them on?
Or is that what's in here?
That was a lay down on the back, and it will be placed inside there.
Okay.
That's if you want to put in there. We're going to go with what you guys request also.
Oh, I see, okay. So,
I have a quick
go
question.
ahead.
I can't recall how we did it before. Are these prioritized, or are they just put down there as numbers? I mean, you know what I mean?
So I remember talking about this last year,
Yeah.
that don't mean the thing. That's why I think for PACAP, when we do ours, we put in bullet points. That way you don't itemize anything. So that might be a suggestion, but it's just a suggestion. Use bullets instead of numbers.
Right.
That way you don't, hey, well, this one here you can do now, but it's not, it's 5 now. Just a suggestion.
I think we learned a lesson when we went to Juneau last year, when we had agreed before we left that we were only going to focus on like top 3 things. When we were briefed by our lobbyists, then we needed to be more nimble in how we could discuss our priorities with our elected representatives, because either there were things that we may have already had solutions that they were working on, or there were other things that were of more importance and more people were paying attention to them at that time. So by numbering them, it could have limited us when we had gone to what we could and what the council had wished for us, rather than saying, we would like you to send you and to talk about all of the priorities as they were all important to us, and what the best use of the time of our elected representatives were.
So you're suggesting then move to what PACAP does and do bullet points?
Yes.
I would like that. I think that would be...
Replace the numbers with bullets.
Yeah. I don't think there's any objection. And Councilmember Cease, I'll get input from you specifically in just a second, but I guess I'll just throw this out there. I think folks have all been distributed what was provided by the Sea Life Center and what was provided for JAG. And I guess I myself would just like to see those changes. I think those are the operators for those facilities, and they know what the updates need to be. Councilmember Casagrande, did you have?
I do. I just want to make sure that the city's priorities are placed before maybe priorities that are to benefit other people that should have their own lobbying. I didn't see exact detail of what it is that the Sea Life Center or JAG are asking for, if it's specific to them or if it is specific to city infrastructure.
Go ahead.
Madam Mayor, so they want to look at for installation of control measures to protect the cell walls that belong to the city, and to put a new transformer in there to help with that. But it's mostly for the corrosion controls. That's the biggest one they're really looking for over there at JAG.
What do they need a transformer for? The electricity for the?
Yeah, because there's a problem. They don't have enough electricity to run it, because they've been so busy. They had so many shifts up there, not enough power to do all the work they need. So they have to prioritize their work with another transformer. They can just go and work on 3 or 4 shifts at one time, even alongside the dock there.
Which this says, so it's $2.25 million for installation of corrosion control measures on the City of Seward shipyard sinker lift and associated marine infrastructure, which keeps that from degrading. And then it says that the new transformer providing electrical power to the Synchro lift, which is also city-owned infrastructure.
So,
And then the beneficial legislation, which I should just pass this over to you, is to legislative support to encourage the Coast Guard to continue to apply the U.S. small business set-aside provisions to our district vessels.
We didn't get the laydowns though. I guess we got them in the email, but we didn't get them printed out. We usually do. So
Do you want to, I know it's.
thank you.
can I just ask a question of clarification, just because I don't really understand? Are they going, so we have lobbyists that we send to get funds to do specific, I'm sure there's like a pocket of funds for marine stuff, right?
Must be grants, and they were probably pushing for the grants.
Right. And so, I guess,
So they would apply for the grant if they have it in our priorities, that this is city infrastructure trying to keep it
So
up.
yeah, it's not just for like looking, so like they might have a grant writer that they're applying for, say, a federal grant, but those federal grants are gonna wanna see it on our priority list.
okay, so
As
they're
support.
doing the work,
Mhm.
we just have it on our list. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to ask. Are we going to be sending our lobbyists to do their work? Or do they have a lobbyist doing their work, and then when it gets to that point where they can get the grant, they can say, hey, look, it's on the city of Seward stuff?
Well, I would just point out that this benefits everybody that's over there. This isn't just for JAG. This is actually for the city-owned infrastructure over there.
Well, getting a transformer so that they can work on more ships
Would
is-
benefit everybody,
Right.
not just JAG, I think.
So I'll just say, my understanding is exactly what you just outlined.
Okay,
Like,
thank
I
you.
don't see our lobbyists, our DC lobbyists going out for JAG, but we might partner with them if it's like a port and infrastructure development grant that they're pursuing, and then they could have this in their backup that we supported.
As they apply for the grant. And I believe that our state lobbyist is also, they do some work for JAG.
Does anyone have this Sea Life Center laid out that I can see a copy of? I don't-
And we
I
also
can't find
have the
that.
Sea Life Center, we also have the, that's that one. We also have the Sea Life Center on Zoom.
Oh.
How many people do we have on Zoom?
We have 2 citizens.
And this might be a good break to let both those citizens have a chance to speak. That works, if they'd like to.
The first one signed in is Tara Reamer.
Okay. Which that leads us to the Sea Life Center.
Tara?
Hello, I just got a request to unmute. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Ken,
Okay, I don't believe you actually have a laydown for us because we had gotten contacted back in December and had already provided our edit to last year's. The only thing that still needs to be done, and I just want to mention this so that you're not surprised when it appears, the very last item on the very last page, Federal B2, establishing the restaurant grant program, that was actually successfully established. So we've asked administration to just strike that because it's no longer relevant. So I'm mentioning that so you're not surprised when it goes away, but
So
we
Tara,
really
that's
appreciate it.
the laydown we're looking at, is that change.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that come through. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, but we had gotten contacted back in December, and just really a huge thanks to administration. I think this is the earliest we've been contacted before this has been considered by council at any level. Great to have that time. We just missed that one. But also just wanted to let you all know that we do have the same city and federal lobbyists as the city of Seward. And so they have always said it's helpful for us to have some of our priorities also on your list, so we greatly appreciate that. In general, they are near the bottom, which is totally okay. And our capital requests are generally, it's capital maintenance of the building, which is, of course, the city-owned asset. The one that is different this year on capital project number 7, I don't have page numbers on this thing, so one that mentions, let's see.
It's under the state priorities, and it's the second to last page.
I'm getting all mixed up, yes. And
I think it's 7 on federal.
specifically mentions,
7 on federal.
there's one under federal, but the one under state is the one that's more specific. $1 million for systems maintenance and repairs of the Alaska Sea Life Center, of which $500,000 would meet the required match to receive $500,000 in capital funding already committed by the Exxon Valdez Oil Spill Trustee Council. That one is more specific this year because we did get a matching grant from EVOS last fall. And in general, asking anyone for funding when you're leveraging it with funding already received is always a great thing. So I just wanted to point that out and explain, and if anyone had any questions on that, happy to explain on that. But that one's a little bit of a tweak from last year. But again, just wanted to express my thanks for you for including these. We do also do our own lobbying, and it's great to be able to partner with the same lobbyists as the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Tara?
Can we get clarification of where that one was that she was referring to?
It's B7.
Is it B7 on the state priorities? It's the second from the
Yes,
last page.
second to the last page, item B7, it starts with $1 million, and then the second line starts with 500,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tara? Tara, I know you're on the Zoom, but thank you for your comments. So is the other person attending the Zoom, do they have their hand up at all?
They do.
Okay, let's give them the opportunity to speak.
Okay, next is Linda Paquette.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So I would just like to ask how we might get on under B, public facilities and infrastructure, and item 13 that might read something along the lines of evaluate and assess site locations and potential alternatives / additional wastewater treatment methods. I sent you an email, and it was very late. I apologize for that, and I do have a hard copy handout that I'm going to give to Brenda in between the next break that basically shows that your current lagoon cannot handle the summer. It can't even handle a COVID summer because you violated your BOD limits with DEC. So contrary to what your admin people tell you and contrary to what your paid consultant tells you, this facility needs help in the way of another facility to relieve it of some of the burden. And I just, I keep talking to the wind, but I think this is the time, if there was a way to get something added to this list. I don't know how you come up with a number. I apologize, I don't have a number to give you, but I just really encourage you, if you go back and you look at Lauren Lehman's letter in the packet from December 14th meeting, he actually indicates in that letter that the problems with that lagoon started in 2008. And yet the dredge did not occur until 2015. That's 7 years. And I say that just to give you an idea. You could put something on this list now. It's still going to be years before it gets any money or any attention. But if we don't get it on the list, I don't see where the future goes here. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. And there's no one else signed in or no hand up? Okay, thank you. So, Councilmember Cease, I'll go to you so that I don't forget you. Did you have any comments or questions on the city, state, or federal priorities? And then I might just have administration just start going through the list and making highlights, just to kind of target our comments. But Councilmember Cease, I'll start with you. Did you have anything?
No, I do not have any questions, thank you.
Thank you. So, Norm, why don't we just start with the city, and I don't know if there's a few highlights, or if we can just start kind of framing the discussion, if there's any changes that you know of from last year, or any folks that you've reached out to, or any of, these are mostly city projects.
Madam Mayor, so we started at the Port Harbor Industrial Area. If you wanted to remove some things up, we know we're working on the Northeast Launch Ramp at this time. We're ready to go out for K&L flows, but we're still waiting on state funding, that 50/50 state matching grant, so I don't know if you want to leave that on there. The electrical power for X-Float is still currently just a transient float. With Z-Float, we've been putting the barges there in the winter, so it's not too much of a big issue with that, if you wanted to remove that. The crane, I would say leave it on there, and it's definitely the washdown pad. Maybe just remove where it says pave the apron, because it's already been paved, but we just need a washdown pad.
Okay, so, so for number one, 500,000 to add a washdown pad at the 50-ton travel lift.
Correct.
And then, stormwater discharge infrastructure, that JAG shipyard environmental controls, and that's been updated, or does that remain?
It's still there, it still needs to be there.
Okay.
It has not been done.
And then the 2.8 million, you're saying delete that because we're in the middle of, we'll see the
Presentation this
during-
evening, and
yeah.
then we're just waiting on it's about the state releasing the funds. They received the federal funds, and the state has their funds already. It's just, he's waiting to get the funds, and if you wanted to ask him tonight during his presentation, Paul Sear from Fish and Game can explain what he's waiting on there.
Okay. And then the 200,000 to extend electrical power to X-Float, you're saying that what gets docked there does not necessarily need electrical power?
Correct, so it's the fishermen come in for a day or two, and they usually run their generators. You know, and then in the winter we have barges there, because it's big enough to take the barges, the double wide barges, and then the military, you know, ties up their boats there on the east side all summer long. So we can keep it on there, or if we're just going to reduce it down.
I was gonna,
Go ahead.
I mean, I'd like to see everybody off generators when they're on our ports, because we generate money for electricity and that's not a very big dollar. I'm just wondering, could we possibly make more than, I mean, it seems like it's a good opportunity to make money, and does the military use their generators as well?
No, the military uses no power at all.
Okay.
Well, something like that, it doesn't seem like it makes sense to take it off. We might as well leave it, especially working on the, you know, PACAB's doing some plans with climate action, and plugging into power might be more green than running generators. I think that PACAB wanted to see that 5-ton crane at or near IDOC stay on there. Security infrastructure, K&L float projects, that should probably stay on if it's not been funded yet.
No, yeah, it's not been funded, but it is shovel ready to go. As soon as the funding comes out, we're ready to go out to bid.
So keep 8?
Keep 8.
Okay, excuse me, I have a question now.
Yes.
Okay, Norm, on that number one, where 500,000 is to pave the apron, is that 500,000, is that what it is going to cost for a washdown pad, or is that going to be a lot lower because we've already done the apron?
So,
Paved the apron.
actually, that would be the cost, because this was from a while back. So the one we had across the bay, of course, is much larger, and that was about 750,000. And so we figured 500,000 is a good price. And that we did a rough estimate with R&M Engineering, and that's about roughly what it would cost to put in the washdown pad at that location.
Okay, so the pave is already done, so that's not 500.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Public facilities and infrastructure, any highlights through there?
I don't see anything on there unless somebody else sees something.
Councilmember Cascaranda?
I'd just like
Oh.
to discuss on the citizen comment that we received in the work session. I don't know, I definitely want to address the concern. I don't know if getting it on the legislative priorities without a dollar amount, I guess I'm looking to administration of if we do want, I mean, I definitely don't want to study anything else, but how do we figure out, I mean, I think everybody in this room wants Seward to grow significantly, and we will need more sewer capacity eventually, and it doesn't hurt to be proactive to start looking. What is it, I mean, is this the right time and place, or do we hold, what does that look like?
But this is the right time and place. Doug's not here, but we can come up with a number and then get it through to Brenda to let you know if you still want it on there. But we can put it on there so we can get a number, it'd be a rough estimate, but we can definitely put it on there.
And this, just for the public and for us again, this is actually what we've needed for a long time. Instead of just having this come before us as a done deal, that we have to do all these amending on the fly during the regular meeting, it's nice to have a work session and discuss it. So we will see this again, and there might be some more massaging that we'll have to look at. Okay, let's, if there's no further comments on that section, let's go to electric. Any highlights? I guess my only question when it comes to these electric numbers, year to year, we just keep the same number moving forward. Has the electric department, it's having Corey in place, is he taking a good look and seeing if these numbers are still kind of realistic, or?
It was sent to him and he responded back to it, and Diane, if she changed anything, I
It's
know she went
incorporated.
over and had a meeting with him on this, so.
Okay, great, that's good to know. And then roads, streets, and ADA accessibility.
As we know, it's an ongoing thing, we've been using CP funds every year and highlight the worst areas, and they're slowly working on it, but that definitely needs to stay on there. And as we can see right now out there, we definitely need storm drain engineering.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that needs to also stay on there.
And then under public safety, the first one is up to $250,000 for needs assessment and conceptual design engineering for replacement Seward Fire Station. Was that generated from the PATCAP discussion, or has that?
He discussed it with Pat Cap, but we didn't, I don't remember coming up with a number, I could be wrong. But I know that Pat Cap's gonna be working on theirs here shortly. But this was actually, the one they were talking about was actually for across the bay.
Okay. Well, that's why it's a little confusing, because the second sentence is the city is experiencing growth on the west side.
Right.
Oh, the west side of our main downtown. I was crossing, thank you, okay. And in the Seward Marine Industrial Center, I was matching them up together. So is that two things though?
There's two separate things, it should be either two separate prices or just have another bullet, and then maybe another $250,000 for the sewer marine infrastructure fire.
So maybe if we could clarify what that should look like.
I just need because I'm sorry, I've never been lobbying, and I don't really understand how, I think that the priority that has been the priority for as long as Sue can probably remember, and even earlier than that, is to get the public works relocated and open that land up. Does this kind of stuff muddy that we really want the money for something like that? I mean,
Are you talking about the CIP priority list?
like, what does it look like? Whoever goes and lobbies or talks to, I know Tony's been before, but if we say, we want public safety buildings, and then we also want the public works building, is there just like pots of money for certain things, and do we like?
Depends on what grants would be available, I would think.
Okay,
That's why they're not prioritized too, I think.
thank you.
Well, and I also might just quickly add is it depends who's looking. Like, the fire department's always done a good job about going out for USDA grants. And I don't know that, not that Public Works couldn't, but I don't know if like USDA grants would match that, but you're exactly right. If there's a grant that becomes available and it's not on this list, we either need to add it to this list or do a separate resolution.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
I just had a question on, since we're on public safety, I know that last year, city managers, Meseros at that time was trying to figure out what was going to happen with the jail, and now, is that still gonna be on this?
It's in here,
Is it under the state?
yeah,
Or did I
okay.
see it?
it's somewhere in here.
Shall be under the state.
It's on the state.
But let's put a pin in that.
But even on the federal side, because I mean, we were,
But this is,
because they were
So
also
it's
working with
under
Spring
state,
Creek.
under number 8.
right.
Oh, so that's the full funding corrections, but you're talking about maybe a capital project, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh.
so either the repairs that needs to be done in there, or rebuild, or whatever needs to happen.
That's actually a good catch. Can we get something like that under this? I don't, jail repairs, upgrades, or, you know, at some point, was that public safety building way back in the day, did that include
I believe it did
updated jail
include,
space?
it did include a correctional
Yeah.
facility there.
Can we check on that?
It did.
It did. But in the meantime, it might make sense to have jail repairs be another item. On to, and again, this is the city priority, so on,
And then the animal shelter.
and then the animal shelter. So so 1 million for the new animal shelter that's used by the city. Is that the city is the $1 million the match, or is that in addition to the match?
The total project was priced out at 2.2 million, so that would be the city's portion. And then working with the other organizations to raise their funds.
Okay, so, cause
By having this on there gives them the ability to start applying for grants that we haven't been able to apply for.
So, just because I'm dense, so the way it reads is 1 million for the new animal shelter that's used by the city, and then in parenthetical it says city will provide a match of the land. So the 1 million is the land, or is it dollars and the land?
Dollars and the land.
Then we should really say in addition, just to clarify.
In addition, the city will provide.
Do, Council, or I'll go to Councilmember Claire.
Would it be useful there also to say that we have a design?
Yeah.
I don't know what the wording would be, but it's closer than some other projects.
It's engineered and designed.
Yeah,
Could
let's-
we add that?
Somehow add that it is engineered and designed.
So,
1
Just-
million for the newly engineered and designed
Yep.
animal shelter that will be used.
and may I also
Go
ask,
ahead.
the reason for saying that it's used by the city is because it's not a borough
Correct,
facility.
correct.
Just, I think everyone would know that probably down at June.
Thank you. Councilmember Pascal.
Sorry if I'm in the gray, but it is used by the borough, right? We have borough animals in it. So when someone comes from the borough, what do we do?
Supposed to.
They don't, in previous life, when I lived outside of town, if you call the animal shelter, they cannot help you.
It's a city facility. And the borough does not have animal controllers.
Gotcha. Do we-
Councilman, you did have another comment though.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask, do we need to specify that this is a match? Right, because there's gonna be $1.1 million raised by a non-profit, and this is the city's match. There was,
City match of 1 million for newly engineered and designed animal shelter that is used by the city. In addition, the city will provide a match of land. I mean, that can be wordsmith somehow.
Yeah.
you could say that the land's worth $200,000.
Yeah, provide a value. Any other comments from public safety? Beneficial legislation, any highlights in this administration?
So on number 3, I don't know if we want to, Seward Airport project runway extension maybe instead of improvements. I know we want an extension. I know it's what's going forward, it's going forward. But maybe we want to say instead of improvements, extension of the new runway. I'm not sure the wording on that, what to use. I know, we worked on it a lot last year.
So I guess I have a question, and I should have printed them out. So is this language taken directly from the last ones, or?
Taken directly from the last one.
Okay. So it just said Seward Airport Improvements, DOT, on the last one? Oh,
I thought we updated that to supporting
It might be on a different,
whatever
it might be on one of the other
1B
priorities. though.
for,
oh yeah, it could be on a different, yeah.
So,
No, I don't remember. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that should probably be more explanatory.
yeah, I don't see.
Support Seward Airport runway extension.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And snow removal, just kidding.
Well, I know that actually, that was my next comment. I know DOT wants to stick it to us and show us who's boss, but, beneficial legislation is holding their feet to the fire. I mean, it is their airport, and they've been very neglectful of us. I mean, and we can talk about this more during the manager's report. I mean, my idea was to have a resolution at our next meeting, but maybe having it included in this, I don't know if the timeline matches up.
Can you just add and regular maintenance?
And adequate maintenance?
Yeah.
Yeah, adequate would be good.
And adequate maintenance of current facilities? Actually, it should start off with adequately maintain current Seward Airport facilities and, hopefully we can get that wordsmithed.
Unless we just make another line.
Have to, maybe we need to separate them out.
Yeah.
Yes?
Do we want to get really specific on these? I mean, these are our priorities, but do we want to start getting really super specific on our priorities and just, these are things that we're going to bring forward to our lobbyists and legislators and whatnot, and are we going to present it on here specific and then go, I'm just wondering how specific we want to get with this list as far as what we're asking for, or what we're going to ask for.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's somewhat of a balance. It has to have enough explanation that they know what they're going for, but at the same time not pigeonhole us.
Right, well, that's what I'm getting at. We've stated a dollar amount here and there, and we're trying to say, well, this and that, and I'm just wondering if that's mudding it up instead of making it clear and concise, which is what you really want when you're talking to your legislatures, is something clear and concise. And
yeah, but I don't know if it just said Seward Airport project improvements, if that tells them that enough.
Does it say anything?
right,
I don't know.
right, but
Yeah.
an extension maybe would work as a simplistic word. It'd
Yeah,
be just a
railway
simple way to
extension.
say it, just
Yeah.
to keep it. But then you start talking about maintenance and regular maintenance, adequate maintenance. Well, then it's kind of, I mean,
Well,
that's,
I mean, I don't know, maybe this isn't the place, cause we need to talk about it during the regular meeting, but we've been having quite a few issues at the
you're
airport.
right, I know, I
having
understand that, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
I'm just stating for this, far as this document is concerned, is all I'm getting at.
So maybe it should say, plow your damn airport like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Don't let someone die in sewer.
Okay, yeah, no, it's just it was just a thought, that's all.
Yeah, no, I
Wondering
agree with you.
if we're gonna muddy this up so
No,
much.
I think you're right, I think we need to really be cautious.
Could I,
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know how the rest of the council feels about it, because I know that there's been issues since last year of it, and since we're kind of still right in the middle of the federal and the state priorities, addressing childcare through our legislative priorities before that becomes a larger issue like Juneau, and we've been seeing a lot of impacts now, especially because of COVID with childcare, with our pre-K. I know that the program as it is right now is constantly under fire because of the amount of children that we have in the community, as well as even the size of pre-K and having the amount of spots available for children to attend pre-K. I don't know if the council is amenable to add those onto our federal and or state priorities.
See, you know what, I think it should go under state beneficial legislation, because in the past we've had Head Start on there. So I mean, supporting Head Start and pre-K definitely has a place under the beneficial legislation for the state priorities.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so,
I forgot about that start.
But just to be clear, we're not stating we're gonna open up a Head Start, right?
no,
Just to be clear.
it's under beneficial legislation, I think we
Right,
would
I
say
understand,
something
right,
like.
that's just making
yeah.
sure that point, that we're not gonna start getting into daycare here at the city, we're just trying to,
No, so under the
Okay.
state, I think it would say something like legislative support of full funding pre-K programs and providing Head Start. So maybe maybe the rest of these under the beneficial legislation for the city of Seward are fine. So we can flip over to that was a good segue to state. Yep.
Mayor, you referenced the JAG request earlier for the 2.25 million. Do you want that to go under Port Harbor and Industrial?
Yeah, I guess we talked about maybe including those already, and then those can come back to us if they have to. So that would be state, federal, just because administration has this state, federal, and city priorities. Is that clear direction? Do you guys need anything else? Maybe before we move on from the city stuff, is there anything else you guys wanted to add?
Can I just suggest that instead of just adding Head Start, that you also add Boys and Girls Club to that educational line of beneficial, because they have great opportunities and grants that are available to Boys and Girls Clubs throughout the world.
So if we're done with the city, then we'll turn over to the state and look at that. Are there any things under the state beneficial legislation that the administration wants to highlight?
I do not, if there's something else you wanted to add, or if you wanted to remove. We're definitely working on the corrections thing, that's gonna be an issue.
And did you talk to Avtech too? Were those one of the folks you reached out to on the priority list?
We reached out to them, but I don't know if, farther know if she got anything back, she should be in here.
Okay. Well, let's just make sure that Kathy
Okay.
did get reached out to. And Seaview has something on here. So, 13, Head Start, Pre-K, and maybe check, let's reach out to Boys and Girls Club and see if they have anything. Do you have enough direction with,
What kind of, I mean, so for the wording for 13, for the, you want to add both Boys and Girls Club and
Well, I guess legislative support, because that's, the Head Start and pre-K is funded through the state, so definitely legislative support for that.
Right.
And then maybe check with Boys and Girls Club and see if there's anything that they'd like incorporated. And then, I wonder if we want to talk to that state daycare program and see if there's language to support anything that they need legislatively.
Even the state assistance programs to
Oh.
families to provide daycare, because I think that's a dual thing, right? Because you're also supporting a small business and you're also trying to get childcare for a child. So it would, I know that a lot of them have been, there's been a lot of issues and different procedural things and a hard time getting certified. And then now, you know, if they can get, if the families can apply for assistance and get that assistance with a provider and more people can become providers, then it's a dual benefit, I think. You're providing job and a way for somebody to maintain a job if they can get assistance with childcare.
So, I think that Seaview does daycare assistance, so maybe it wouldn't hurt to check in with Seaview and see if we need to support expanding the program or lowering limits for access or I don't know, something like that. I know that there's an arm of the state that does the funding, so maybe we can check in with them also. Anything else under state parent beneficial legislation? Capital projects, state capital projects. So this narrative right under capital projects, is that taken from other previous resolutions?
Yes,
Okay.
yes it is.
And then is there anything in here you want to highlight?
Nothing off the top is, there was.
So the sledge removal maintenance project for both wastewater treatment plants, that's still,
Well, they're gonna have to do it again, part of their maintenance program.
okay. And maybe within that, like another bullet point, kind of consolidating around there, see if there's anything with that wastewater treatment plant that we talked about earlier,
Additional wastewater treatment plant.
or expanded facility. And then, so number 8, I think that number 8 is one of the items brought forward by the Port Commerce Advisory Board that you talked about with them.
Correct, and it's also on our, so EVOS, you see, EVOS has changed their direction, so that money probably won't be available through them, so,
Okay.
unless something happens.
And here under 10, will you kind of update the language that we spoke about earlier for the state?
Do we want to include the dog park?
Oh.
Because.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
actually this is for design, engineering, and construction.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that
this-
has to be changed.
This has to be updated.
Mayor? Yes, if I may.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. I do not see, and maybe I don't see, I think we have a water tank up at the canyon that needs replaced or refurbished.
Doug was talking about, I believe that's the one that needs to be replaced in the future.
Can we get that in here?
That's the Low Canyon. I think we
Yeah.
saw pictures of that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need a dollar amount on that.
Could we actually, because we just recently had from the rate study, all of the capital needs for water and sewer, can we just double check? Can administration double check that all of those are in here? To try to save from rate increases.
And I know we have some along that same line, I know we have some transmission, $12 million upgrade, but I wonder if there's any additional, electric facilities that need to be in here in case we're going out to architect, or with some of that combining, there's grant money or opportunities for them to fund projects within that, rail belt. So the electric department, because that would be a state capital project, especially with that rail belt consolidation.
So where would you want that at, Madam Mayor?
Just on the list, on the bullet point.
Just wanted to check on the numbers, correct?
Yeah. And then here is where you can see that the design, engineering, and construction of the public works facility and maintenance shop, the top one.
And that was also on our state.
Yeah, no, I think
And our
we're still on
cities.
state.
It was on our city too. Do we not do a borough one anymore?
They incorporate these into theirs. So once we adopt ours, we send it to the borough and then they incorporate it. But I don't know what that timeline looks like anymore.
I don't either. We always got ours late to them. I think they get them earlier than we are ever prepared, so, or in the past, I don't know now. It would be worth checking,
Yeah.
because, yeah, I think this is after the deadline, probably. It always is.
Because it gets included in their budget book.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It would just be nice with the animal shelters, since I know we say we don't have any borough animals in there, but that seems impossible. You can still go drop them off, they don't know
If
where
we
they're
have a
from.
drop off, we might start taking.
Yeah, so with that being on the borough, and then also, it's kind of too early, but if we're rezoning, in the event that the Jesse Lee home does get rezoned to park with the schools and everything right there, I don't know. It's way too early to get into that, but. Can administration maybe just report back to council and let us know when the borough, just for future reference, when the borough expects us to have our
I got no
priorities to them?
It'd be easy. to
Okay,
find out.
thanks.
You ready to move on to federal priorities? Does administration have any comments on federal priorities, appropriation, and grants, or anything you want to highlight in this list?
So on A1, I know that, remember it was in the newspaper last year, they already have $31 million appropriated, but should we just maybe leave it there? I mean, just to.
Yeah, till it's a done deal.
And the Little Creek is moving along, Little Creek Tunnel, sorry.
So I will say, once we know how that's moving forward, we should probably update that with better numbers and information, but leaving it general right now might be helpful. Yes, sorry.
I'm becoming more and more aware of correct writing and wording. And if you read number 1, maybe we could fix that, because there's that second sentence isn't a sentence.
Can't start a sentence with and.
Yeah, and then, what else, I just saw something else. Oh, crud. Okay, I'll find it. Sorry, I'll tell you when I find it.
Well, number 4 is missing a period at the end.
Maybe that was what it was. Okay, that could be. Well, that wasn't it. There was something else. Oh, number 4, 35 million appropriation for Lowell Point Road A State Parks Trailhead, to complete, there's something really, really funky there. Maybe Lowell Point Road, a State Parks Trailhead to complete without a comma, bank stabilization and erosion control projects, maybe? I've started to notice these things now.
Vice Mayor?
So I'm just wondering if there was a grant that we wanted to get, does that mean we have to put it on our priorities to apply for federal grants like that? Or you could just apply for a federal grant, even if it's not on your priorities?
So I'll say, so here's what's helpful with this, and administration can correct me if I'm wrong. When we go to Juneau, or when we go to DC, if we ever do that again, we have this in our hands, so we're not like stepping outside of what council's told us we can talk about and support. However, if there's a grant that comes up and administration says, yep, we have a project, you can write a resolution in support, and you don't have to amend this. You could have a separate resolution. This just kind of focuses our thought process and shows us what we've already said we're interested in doing.
Okay, thank
Does
you.
that,
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
From the Borough Clerk, just going back in time, because we've had this conversation
Yeah.
before, City of Seward's legislative priorities do not need approval from the borough. The city can submit them directly to the legislator upon council approval. That's it.
Okay, so they
Okay.
don't put
So
them
they
in
don't-
theirs anymore.
And they stopped doing the books, it looks like in 2017.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, it was an issue up through
Yeah.
15, I know that. I'm wondering about B1.
Yeah, oh yeah, thank you for getting us that. Yeah, I think that language needs to get updated because we know now that the maintenance is through 2027, right? Yeah, but we also need to track that because the other issue that we need to have on this list is they think once that tunnel's done that they're gonna transfer all the maintenance to us. So, you know, I know we wanna be careful about what we say ahead of time because we want them to build it and then tell them it's still your problem. But we wanna figure out what that language needs to look like.
I know Stephen can touch on, he was at that one meeting, but I know that they were talking about any events or anything that FEMA would cover, any major issues with it, but just the regular maintenance of it. I don't remember what they said they would cover.
Well, their statement was extremely vague. They just basically said that, you know, obviously the maintenance has been extended through 2027, but, you know, who knows how long it's going to take to actually build it. And then the verbiage they used was that the same FEMA dollars would be available to the new tunnel as the existing tunnel. And I don't remember what the breakdown was, but it was like a 70-30 split historically. The city's done some maintenance and they've done some maintenance on the more catastrophic type of events.
So, you know, also we have a lobbying firm. We should talk to our federal lobbyists and say, what should this say?
Yeah.
Because this
It's
language,
important, this is hugely important.
this is probably the key thing out of all of this. We need to make sure that this is done right. So I think it would be most helpful is to provide what we did last year and then ask them for an update. Is there anything we're missing? So, you know, I don't know what other cities are doing if we want to, I mean, we're talking about beneficial legislation. Do we want to push for any additional COVID funds out of the feds or the state? I mean, there's all those things But this is where we ask for that, if this is gonna be on our January 25th. I mean, that might be another question to our lobbyists, if we need to provide support for some of those things to happen. I don't know, I mean, do we, second round of CARES Act, or, I mean, that train's gonna move on with or without us, but just throwing that out there.
Hard to ask. Hard to point it out.
I mean, we got that packet of legislative stuff that I was going through, and it looked like there was quite a bit of CARES money for like water and sewer and infrastructure projects, and so maybe just keeping in mind that to start lobbying for that stuff sooner than later, because it sounds like there's gonna be a lot of money put into creating jobs to get this kind of stuff moving.
Yeah, because that year that Jobs Act, some of that stuff came through, I think we reflected it. It's been a while. Maybe that's a question for our state and federal lobbyists, like what we're missing on.
Right. Like, what's there that we don't see?
Yeah. So are you thinking changes, and then this will come back to us on the 25th, or first meeting in February, what's?
If, we'll let you know if we can't get it, if we're still waiting for responses, then we'll push it to the February 8th meeting, but if not, we'll definitely get to you on the 25th.
Cheryl, I haven't been ignoring you. I'll give you an opportunity now if you had any further comments.
No, I don't. I can hear you. I don't feel like you're ignoring me.
Okay, good. And I'll look around the room to see if there's any additional comments. Thank you very much, administration, for getting this before us. We appreciate it. And with that, I'll close the work session.